Good morning, Morai Rabotai, Beruchim Habayim. We are continuing on Masechet Makkot, and we are on Daf Yud Zayin, Amud Bet, 6 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. Today's Amud is being learned as a schut for the Refuah Shlema of Rachel Simcha Bat Nahid, that should have full recovery, Refuah Shlema, Be'ezrat Hashem, Amen. Also, as a Refuah Shlema, as chut for Gavriel Hayim ben Eliza, and also for Eliza Bat Linda, that should have also Refuah Shlema, Amen. This month's learnings of the community have been dedicated graciously by the Kohen family, by Dayan family, and by Shei families. Should be ultimate zchut for all of their families, Be'ezrat Hashem, Amen. Okay, so we are amidst the discussion of whether or not you could judge someone halachically and give them a punishment based on logical discourse of one of the 13 ways that the Torah is explained. We went through a magnificent drasha of Rabbi Shimon that he very surgically reconstructed the entire pasuk and learned 6 different halachot, no less than 6 new halachot from the pasuk that we had, Lo tuchal le'echol b'sha'arecha, seemingly mentioning a very simple list of things that has to be eaten in Yerushalayim. And Rabbi Shimon started darshaning that by Bechor, you can't eat it until the Baalim, after the Kohen puts it in front of the Mizbeach, they have to also read the parasha of Vidui Maaser. By Todah Ushlamim, it has to be Zerikat Tamim. All of those halachot, Rabbi Shimon learned from the way the pasuk is written in the order and the chronology that's mentioned. And all of it is from Kal Vachomer, because if you told me Maaser, then I would know myself the Todah Ushlamim. So why do you say Todah Ushlamim? After all, must be Kal Vachomer, right? A series of Kal Vachomers, and he learned these halachot to the degree that Rava was so impressed. He said, you want to daven for your kids, you got to daven that they should be like Rabbi Shimon, right? And then he disagreed with everything that he said. But now the Gemara says, after all the details of the machloket, Rava and Rabbi Shimon, if you could put it like that, is said and done, we have the elephant in the room question, and that is, you cannot learn an azhara from Kal Vachomer. When the Torah wants to give a warning, the warning cannot be given from a logical discourse. The Torah has to say explicitly, don't do this. And then he says, if you do that, then you get punished. Without a clear, straightforward warning, you cannot punish anyone. So that's the question that the Gemara asks. 6 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. Gemara says, well, since when we give warnings from a Kal Vachomer? So the Gemara says, even if you subscribe to punishing someone from Kal Vachomer, but you can't give warnings. Warnings have to be explicit and standalone. So says the Gemara, en masirin minadin, that's according to everyone. What our answer says, no. Isura be'alma. Here, Rabbi Shimon does not really mean that you get malkut. That you would need a real azhara and a standalone warning, direct and explicit. But Rabbi Shimon holds that it's asur deoraita, but you don't get malkut for it. Now, this is a very loaded answer, because first of all, the braita that we had said clearly, minayin she'u lokeh. How do we know that he is lokeh? What does that mean exactly? Lokeh normally means malkut. Now Ritba answers this question over here. He says no, lokeh doesn't mean malkut necessarily. Lokeh means he gets it, right? So he gets it that he's done an isur deoraita. That's how the Ritba explains this thing. The Tosafot, you see, is one of the longest Tosafots of this Masechta, going all the way from Yud Zayin Amud Bet to the middle of, almost middle, the bottom of of Yud Chet Amud Aleph. This is the question that Tosafot is dealing with over here, right? We have a lot to do for Shabbat afternoon Chabura over here. The Tosafot asked this question, a series of disappointments. They say, can't say that either. Have multiple different question after question after question, and they completely explain it in several different ways. Ayin Sham in the Tosafot, but nevertheless, Gemara basically says it doesn't mean that you get a full-fledged love. It doesn't mean that. It means you get some sort of isur over here, isur be'alma, a regular isur you have. Fine. So the Gemara says, wait a second, that can't be either, because when Rava explained this Braita according to Rabbi Shimon, remember, the whole Manda Amar that we have is Rava explaining Rabbi Shimon. And Rava himself, when explaining this, Rabbi Shimon said, you know what comes out? If you're a person that likes the game of numbers, if you eat Ola, Korban Ola, right, which was the last step in the whole climaxing tower of Rabbi Shimon's drasha, the top one was Ola. So if you eat Ola before Zerikat Damim, outside of the climb, outside of the walls of Azara, says Rava, Behama Rava Zar, a non-Kohen, and that eats from the Ola before Zerikat Damim, and he eats it Chutz Lachoma. So you are eating Ola, you are a Zar, you're eating it before Zerikat Damim, and you're eating it in a place that the Kodesh Kodashim do not belong. Says Rava, Rabbi Shimon lokech chamesh. You have to get 5 sets of Malkut. Where do you get that from? The only way you would get 5 sets of Malkut for this is if you take the Jashav Rabbi Shimon, which is what he's quoting. You would take that extremely seriously, that every little one of these Kal Vachomers that he said is another set of Malkut, right? Before Zerikat Damim, one more set, right? You have Chutz L'Klayim, another one. Zar, another one. You're eating it all together. It's only if you take it very seriously. So how can you say it's Isur B'Alma? You can't say it's just the Isur without Malkut, without a full-fledged lav, Azhara. So says the Gemara, V'ha'anan tenan. Oh, sorry, I skipped the answer here. The Rabbi Shimon loke chamesh, says Gemara, chamesh isuri navu. Well, no, it doesn't mean loke. According to Ritva, this reads pretty well, right? When he says loke, that means he gets it for 5 different isurim. Yeah, correct. You're doing 5 separate isurim, but we're not talking about malkut over here, right? We're not talking about malkut over here.
How'd you get 5? You counted 4, didn't you?
No, that's the one of them is the main one. Those are the additions, right? So says the Gemara, V'ha'anan tenan. Well, it says, okay, I'm not going to let you go so easily, because we learn in the Mishnah, Eluhen halokin. Let's not forget what we're learning. We're learning Masechet Makkot over here, right? And Daf Yud Gimal, we started a list of people who get lashes, not isurim, not isura be'alma, as the Gemara puts it here. We're talking about malkut, and the Mishnah that we had over here is the continuation of that. And the two of the items that we had in our Mishnah was, if you eat bikurim before, the Bailim read the text of Vidu Maser. That is only based on Rabbi Shimon's drasha over here. Another one was, if you eat Kodesh Kodashim Chutz L'Klayim. If you eat Kodesh Kodashim outside the Azara. Where that's from? That's also from the drasha of Rabbi Shimon. So you see, 2 of the items that Rabbi Shimon said out of 6 are mentioned actually in our Mishnah. And they're mentioned in the list of the things that you actually get lashes for. So says the Gemara, Ela kra'ye tera, the Gemara says this is correct. You're you're correct that we get Malkut for these two, but that you learn from a different pasuk. In other words, Rabbi Shimon wanted to make a drasha that only needs one pasuk. He took the pasuk of lo tuchal le'echol bish'arecha, ma'asar tekarchav, etc. He wanted to darshan everything from that same pasuk from Kal Vachomer. Mara says you don't need Kal Vachomer. There are 3 psukim, not one. The one that we have been busy with is the 3rd one, but it has a history behind it. The history is the other 2 psukim say that you cannot eat these things outside of Yerushalayim. So if I know that you can't eat these things outside of Yerushalayim, why do you have this pasuk that we brought, this whole pasuk of Rabbi Shimon that says, Lo tuchal le'echol bish'ar, you can't eat these things outside. You said it already to me. Why do you have to say it again? Oh, you want to create a lav, an extra, just say Lo tuchal le'ochlam. Just say you can eat them. We know what you're coming from. Why do you have to say again all of these things of enumerating the different ones that you're saying in the pasuk? Each one of them that you mention again is coming to teach you now that you get punished for it, because you already told me that you can't eat them outside Yerushalayim. And don't tell me that you're giving a lav to me, because just say lo tuchal le'ochlam, you can't eat them. And that would have a lav, that would have a don't do attached to it. The reason that you have to enumerate them and count them each one by their names is to tell me that you get a isur and a punishment. So says the Gemara, Ela kara yeterahu. This pasuk that Rabbi Shimon darshined is a kara yetera. It's an extra pasuk. Michdi, let's see. Ktiv, the pasuk already says, ve'eveta sham ve'achalta lifnei Hashem elokecha b'makom. This is 2 different psukim. So the Gemara, I'm going to read you the pasuk over here. Ve'havetem shama olotechem. Take a look at the side. This is going to be a long one because it's 2 different parts put together, which is more than 2 psukim. Ve'havetem shama olotechem ve'zivchechem ve'ma'aserotechem. You should bring it there. Where is there? Yerushalayim, right? What do you bring? All of these things. Olotechem ve'zivchechem ve'ma'aserotechem ve'terumat yetchem ve'nidrechem ve'nidvotechem ufchorot bekarchem ve'sorchem. The entire list that Rabbi Shimon was busy with is mentioned over here as well. And then it says, ve'achaltem, the next pasuk, ve'achaltem sham. Don't think that you're just bringing it there. You're eating it there. Where are you eating it? In Yerushalayim. What does that mean? If you live outside Yerushalayim, you must bring it to Yerushalayim to eat them. So he says, right? ve'achaltem sham לפני השם אלוקיכם, ושמחתם בכל משלח ידכם, אתם ובתיכם, אשר ברכה השם אלוקיך. So that's one. If I had these 2 psukim, I would already know that you cannot eat it in Haifa, in Tel Aviv. You have to go to Yerushalayim to eat it. You can't outside Yerushalayim. And then he says, ואכלת לפני השם אלוקיך, במקום אשר יבחר, you should eat it לפני השם אלוקיך, in Yerushalayim, in the place that he has chosen לשכן שמו שם, to dwell his name. מעשר תגנך, תירושך, ישערך, בכורות, בקרך ושונך. All of them again. למען תלמד ליראה את השם אלוקיך כל הימים. So it says, you have this. יה והבאתם, יה ואכלתם. Why in the world do you need the pasuk of לא תוכל לאכול בשעריך? No, you want to have a lav. You could have a lav by just say, לא תוכל לאוכלם, says the Gemara. Take a look at the 3rd line. לכתוב רחמנה, לא תוכל לאוכלם. Just right, you can eat them, and we're good to go. Right? Why do you have to say the list again? מיתר מפרש בו רחמנה למה לי? Why does he have to go and explain every single name again? Says the Gemara, אלא לייחוד אלוהו לאו לכל חד וחד. Every one of them that you mention, when he says lo tuchal, which is a language of lav, and now you say them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're giving a lav to each one of them, right? So that's the lav. We're not learning the lav from the fact that you have kal vachomer. We already know that they're all asur. The reason the pasuk goes back and mentions each one of their names is to tell you that each one has a lav for themselves, not because of kal vachomer. Fine, gufa, says the Gemara. So that's where we're leaving it here. Now the Gemara goes back to it. Gufa, Amar Rava, Zar Shachal Min Haolam. We just said 2 minutes ago that Rava said in understanding the Shita of Rabbi Shimon that if a non-Kohen eats Olah before Zrikat Tamim outside of the area of Bet HaMikdash, of the Azara, he gets 5 malkuts, right? You get 5 sets of malkut. Rava says, why only 5? Why not 6? The pasuk says that a non-Kohen cannot eat them because they are kadosh. So says the Gemara, you should have that as well. This is mentioned in the parasha of Miluim. And because it says ki kodesh hem, and he gives a reason for why you can't eat them if you're not a Kohen, because they are kodesh kodashim. So guess what else is kodesh kodashim? Olah is kodesh kodashim as well. So if you're eating an olah, you should also be in transgression of a zar eating kodesh kodashim. So you should get 6 really. The Gemara suggests. Gemara says, good, nice try, but no. Hanimili hecha de lekohanim chazi. What's the pasuk? The context of the pasuk is only kohanim could eat this, and a zar, a non-kohen, should not eat it because they are kodesh, because they are kodesh kodashim. So he's talking explicitly about kodesh kodashim that are eaten by kohanim. But if even the kohen cannot eat it, then there's nothing to talk about. The pasuk does not include something that doesn't have heter achila even for a kohen. So you can't say, well, if you eat olah, you're in transgression of this. No. This is only prohibiting things that kohanim only could eat for a non-kohen, but not something that not a soul could eat. It's not a isur achila in general. It says only kohanim could eat this. So therefore, it's not including those items that even a kohen cannot touch. Says the Gemara, hacha lekohanim nami lo chazi. Even for a kohen, it's not proper. He can't eat olah. No one could eat olah. Says the Gemara, velil kinami mishumu basar basadeh terefa lo tochelu. You should be over on the pasuk of basar basadeh terefa lo tochelu. Now the Gemara this is where you have to have a little coaching background. Gemara in Masechet Zvachim daf pebet. Gemara darshins basar basadeh, a meat in the field. The Gemara says, what's the spell? Why do you have to say basar basadeh? Just say basar terefa lo tochelu. Don't eat basar terefa. Why do you have to tell me basar? Do I care if meat is taref? Do I care where it is? Don't eat taref at KBT. What does that mean exactly? So says the Gemara, it's coming to compare the meat with the sadeh, right? Just like sadeh field is an open field that doesn't have boundaries, so it's quote unquote outside walls. The same is with the basar, that the basar of kochim outside of the walls of azara, they can't be eaten. So here we have olah, which is kodesh kodashim, and you're eating it outside the walls. Well, you have an extra pasuk that should be included. This. So says the Gemara, why don't you learn it from basar basadeh terefah lo tochelu? Kevan sheyatza, which the drasha of it in the Gemara over there is, once the basar of kochim goes outside of the mechitza, of the boundaries that they should be eaten, they become asur, ne'esar. Gemara says the same exact answer. Says, okay, nice, you found me another isur, but that also is talking about items that could be eaten within the walls. If you take them out, then you have an isur, an extra isur. But here they can't be eaten even within the walls. So what are you saying? It's not applicable. That's only when inside the mechitzot, inside their boundaries, they are fit for being eaten. Over here by Olah, it's not fit for eating, even within the area of Azara. Says the Gemara, okay, another attempt. We should give him Malkut like Rabbi Eliezer, that the Shita of Rabbi Eliezer is the Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Lo yochal ki kodeshu, should not be eaten because it is kodesh. The pasuk says, Ve'im yivater mi besara miluim, if you have extras, right, notar, umin halechem at the boker, and from the lechem that you have, again, these are all kochim, that now the time has surpassed the allowed time. V'sarafta et notar, you should burn the notar, the extras, lo ye'achel ki kodeshu. They should not be eaten because they are holy. So it says, Rabbi Eliezer, kol shebekodesh pasul. Anything that it is in the level of kedusha is pasul. Ba'katuv liten lo ta'aseh al achilato. Anything that it was in kedusha and became pasul because you took it out of its time or out of its place, it should be asur. So in other words, this is talking about anything that was kodesh and now was taken out of time or out of place. So we have Ola as kodesh, and its parameters is that of the Azara. You took it out, it should be Isur. So says the Gemara, Hanamili hechad de kodem pisulo chazi. Over here it's pasul, you can't eat it, right? Even though that I know that you can't eat it anymore. The attempt of the Gemara is because, just like by lechem and notar over here, by kochim that are outside of their time boundaries, I know that you can't eat them. And yet the pasuk says, you have to burn them, you cannot eat them. Lo ya'achil. So the Gemara says, well, I see from here that something that I can't eat, the Torah still puts a boundary of isur lav on eating them. So you're telling me Ola you can't eat, fine. So you should have another lav on eating the Ola outside the places because it's something that's pasul and it's out of its place. Gemara says, okay, nice. This is a better attempt. It for sure is a better attempt. But says the Gemara, still the same answer applies to this as well. Because says the Gemara, Hanimili, second line, Hecha de kodem pisulo chazi. This is talking about the case the lechem was edible before the Zman Isur. The basar, the kodesh, was edible before the time of Isur. Now it became Asur, and the Torah puts an additional thing on it. But if it was never, ever fit for eating, this pasuk does not cover that either. Haka kodem pisulo, over here, the Ola, even before you made it pasul, right? Because if you take Ola outside the Kelaim, you can't even burn it anymore. It's pasul. You invalidate your Ola by taking it outside. So it says, it's correct. You're correct that taking it out of place or out of time, it invalidates the Korban. I understand. But nevertheless, it's not fitted in this pasuk because this is talking about something that before you made it pasul by taking it out of its boundaries, it was good. Over here, the Ola, even before you take it out of its boundaries, it's not fit for eating. It's never fit for eating. So therefore, none of these psukim that you're attempting is going to be applicable over here in the case of Ola. Then Gemara is going to have another attempt over here for a different shita of Rabbi Eliezer that we will B'ezrat Hashem pick up in the days to come. Hazaku Baruch.